Snow is blistering, wind is blasting, heat is pumping. What a beautiful winter day to make a review video of this newly released, this Dina Phipps Aries 12 years edition that they became Dina Phipps brand. This one retailed for just about $1,000 US. So by the way, how everyone is doing is just a wonderful time of the year. I'm excited to review this as a world premiere. They did some improvements, functionality, the buttons and the layout they changed a bit. In addition to that, they added a I2SB connection in the back, so which helps. This Aries 12, it's bright sounding out of the box. I stopped listening it and then I just leave it on for like 3-4 days, and then I started using them on my desktop. Then using with my headphones, and then I moved them to my TV system, just listening to TV, just 2.1. Then what I find is the way that it can change in over time. Like probably it was starting to change after 50 hours or so. Then I moved to this main system. I started listening using these two speakers, Pioneer TED S1EX and this KEF R11 speakers. But I stopped using KEF R11 for this review because it just can't keep up with the TED, Pioneer TED S1EX in terms of sound quality and reproduction. So back to this Aries 12, good improvement over Aries 2. What I mean by that is the features and functions and improvement is noticeable. So what they're gonna improve in terms of sound quality. What they did was very simple. It has a more neutral and nearly transparent in terms of sound reproduction. That is the improvement that they did. So noise performance, background noise is about the same. No major improvement there that I can hear. And sound reproduction, some people might prefer Aries 2, a little bit of forwardness in mid-range to upper mid-range region compared to Aries 12. Aries 12 is more even, more neutral, and probably one of the most transparent R2 deck that you will find in today's market. I like a lot of Delta Sigma decks for the punchiness and attack and everything, right? Super wide soundstage and those kind of stuff. So this Aries 12 can provide you similar performance, but slightly more in like polite manner. So meaning it will give you very good dynamic sound, still giving you pleasure of listening to your music and enjoying your music without getting annoyed by extreme frequencies. So I was listening to AC/DC Who Made Who album. I end up listening to the whole album. That's how much I was enjoying it, listening to it. Like 2 days ago, I was listening to it and I was like, oh man, this is so enjoyable. It's sounding so good with this S1EX speakers. So then the bass attack, right? Dynamic range that it can produce along with pairing with this Aries 12 is incredible. Micro detail and really good transient response and everything. So in this review, I will be focusing on the 5 tracks, although I went through like hundreds of music. If you're coming from Delta Sigma decks, right? Like I do a lot of review of different decks. I was listening to Top-End DX5. I was listening to other different Delta Sigma decks as soon to be reviewed. So what happened is as soon as you switch over to R2R deck, the tonality that totally transform and you to enjoy to music more so than Delta Sigma's decks can do. But not saying Delta Sigma decks are not great sounding. They are absolutely very good sounding decks. It's just a different way of a tonality. It's more like this. if you play guitar, right? If you use an effect like acoustic effect, although you are playing electric guitar, that's how delta sigma, delta sigma DAC will sound. But this kind of R2 or DACs is like you are playing and it will have an actual sound and body and that glow of acoustic guitar body that you will hear, that kind of sound. So those are the different in tonality. Human voices, I absolutely love R2 or DACs. Upper mid-range, they are killer. But they have some weak points, right? Bass attack, lowest of the notes, transient response, and dynamic, really good dynamic sound that if you're after, it may lack slightly less. But this Aries 12, they improved it because they made it nearly transparent sound quality. So that improvement is it can totally show the actual sound reproduction of this DAC. What music you have or whatever music that you are listening to, you will be hearing back as it recorded. So that's how they get improvement in overall transparency. So one of the track I try back to back with Aries 2 and Aries 12 is the Zhao Kang Moonlight on Spring River track. It just traditional style Chinese music with really good deep notes that it can produce like 25 to 28 hertz down to that region, probably like possibly 23-4 hertz down to that low region. It's about like intro of after like 50 seconds or so you will get to those bass lines. Comparing these DAC back to back, that bass line is slightly more noticeable with this newer 12 than the Aries 2. So those kind of minor improvements. The major improvement that you will notice is it has a more transparent and better overall sound signature. Aries 2 can be a bit forward sometimes. So that's where some people find it a bit, bright for their taste. So this Aries 12 improve it and even like nearly transparent sound. So that track also I try oversampling and not oversampling, right? Then what I notice is I like the sound of oversampling. So when it's not oversampling, the bass notes are a little blurrier. But if you oversampling, those bass lowest of the notes are clearly more noticeable and more pronounced. So that's how I like it, and that's how I would prefer listening to it. Then I moved over to next track, which is Norah Jones' Happy Pills. If I listen into it in oversampling mode, the drum notes and drum strikes are tighter and more precision and more dynamic and a little bit more precise in terms of sound quality. When it's not oversampling, then that area is like previous track, a little blurrier and a little bit the soundscape is a bit wider. So that's how they transform in oversampling and not oversampling. But overall, my music listening, I totally prefer oversampling for precision notes and dynamic attack and really good transient response. So when it's come to that kind of transient response, a lot of people will also decay, right? So for example, I was listening to Taylor Swift newest album, Midnights, right? The 3 a.m. edition that I have. Anti-Hero track has the really good, a little bit, like echoey sound that go in like in the back. That sound, that the way that she recorded the mix, it's beautifully recorded. Her voice will be middle and the really wide soundstage and big bass notes are coming in. And it made me feel like I was listening in the middle eye roll of a concert hall kind of feeling. So that kind of a sound quality reproduction that this Aries 12 can provide. So which is very impressive in my opinion for this price point. Musicality and transparency very much comparable to any Delta Sigma DEX in similar price point, but overall musicality and engaging sound signature and tonality, this one maybe like you are listening to like really good high-end analog rig kind of sound quality that this one can do, which is incredible achievement that they really provided you. I mean, this price point and you get that kind of sound quality. And I also try one of my favorite oldies track from Neil Diamond, Forever in Blue Jeans. So that track has a really good recording and placement and stereo image, right? It has the guitar coming from the left, shifting to the right, and the vocal. So before that, a few seconds into the intro, there is like very small harmonic sound, very good harmonic tone that they included. I'm not sure if it's human voices or not. Probably tiny bit of a touch up that they did. It's beautifully portrayed and very nicely reproduced with this Aries 12 than any Delta Sigma DEX that I tried. So that kind of tonality and sound reproduction is great on these kind of R2R DEX. That tiny notes is more noticeable in oversampling mode than the not oversampling mode. Neil Diamond voice is incredibly great and enjoyable to listen. So it's like right here. So even that modern recording like Taylor Swift, that Anti-Hero track, her voice is right here in the middle and all the notes coming in. And it created really beautiful soundscape and enjoyable to listen environment in this room, especially what's going on outside. So those are the tracks that I use, and many tracks that I listen to. Overall, 98% of the tracks I totally enjoy it. And some of the poorly recorded music is not so great with this Aries 12 because compared to some other R2R DEX, this one is being more transparent, meaning slightly less forgiving in terms of honesty in redelivering the recorded music. And next track is the Silence track remixed by Lissette and Voltec, featuring Sarah McLachlan. So that track, the intro, the synthesizer, and all the effects and everything is beautifully reproduced. I don't hear anything in getting behind or lacking in terms of attack and the quickness and immediacy and transient response is as good as it can be and as good as musically it can be. That's how I like to put it. So this Aries 12, I have no complaint in terms of overall performance and sound quality. Then I try with that Iris DDC, which should be around like 500 US dollar. Then what I notice is overall upper range of frequency, it's improved, more well-rounded and more precise. It just takes off a little bit of edginess it has in some frequency range, so it's a little bit smoother. So if you are after that kind of sound quality, I can totally recommend that to you. Add in DDC, but like Taylor Swift, Anti-Hero, or Neil Diamond, Forever in Blue Jeans, or let the Silence remix and those tracks, I really like USB cable feeding directly to this Aries 12. The AC/DC album, Who Made Who album that I went through, that was directly feeded to USB cable directly to Aries 12, not to the DDC. So But if you mainly listen to like very well recorded, high quality audiophile music or jazz music, those kind of music, the DDC will totally help you, give you more three-dimensional kind of soundstage in the upper range of frequencies. So when I'm listening to that Zhao Kong Moonlight on Spring River track, when I was using with DDC, the bass notes, the low notes are slightly more defined but less pronounced. So that's where the DDC is making a difference. The overall background, it will make it a lot darker and more elevated notes in the music reproduction that you will hear. But it might slightly reduce in overall dynamic attack. So that's how I find it using this Iris and this Aries 12. Those are things that only come down to how you would like to hear your music. I'm totally fine USB cable directly feed it to Aries 12. The sound sample that you're going to hear in this video is directly playing from Aries 12 without DDC. After all the listening and all the music that I went through, personally, I think this Aries 12 is great in terms of musicality, dynamic range, and attack, and nearly transparent sound, like a really good high-end analog rig kind of a tonality and sound signature to it without overdoing anything in any frequency range. My advice to you is, if you are deciding what DAC that you want to go with in $1,000 price range, you should put this Aries 12 to your very short list. I can totally easily recommend you to try it, and probably you will fall in love with it in its engaging sound signature and great tonality with very good musicality that it can produce. I will suggest you to pair with neutral sounding speakers and amplifiers. Highly recommended, my friend. Thank you very much for watching and happy listening.
The sky, it's the color of love. There must have been an angel by my side. Something heavenly came down from above. He led me to you. He led me to you. He read the bridge to your heart all the way. How many times I've lived inside, oh, I can't say. When I led to you, when I lay eyes on you, I'll let by. You wrap me up in the color of love. You gave me the kiss of life, kiss of life. Wasn't it clear survive. You gave me a kiss that fly. Kiss of So great. On the bass, Mr. Koriboy Keisuke-san. On the guitar, Orima Yosuke-san. Yeah.